Hello, welcome to the April 20th monthly Maine Accelerates Growth meeting. Maine Accelerates Growth is a statewide network of organizations and individuals that support entrepreneurs and innovators to scale in Maine and beyond. We believe that a vibrant, inclusive innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem will result in a more abundant, equitable, and sustainable economy and make Maine a great place to live, work, and play. So we work together to share expertise, seek best practices, and to address system gaps. We promote the successes of Maine startups and entrepreneurial support organizations and collaborate to attract talent and inspire innovation. Our values are to be inclusive, action-oriented, metric-focused. We think long-term and system-wide and seek ways to be more collaborative. Our monthly meetings highlight the activities of Maine Technology Institute, the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development, organizations that support startups and startups in Maine. By entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem, we mean a system of cultural, financial, technical, policy, and relationship networks that can support innovation-driven enterprises. Entrepreneurs and innovators with ideas and technologies that have the potential to spread, scale, and change life in positive ways for large numbers of people. MxG is a project of the Maine Technology Institute. I'm Liz Trice, the coordinator for MxG, and so happy to see you all today. I want to give a special thank you shout out to Matthew Opuda, who is helping us today with the tech side so that these meetings will be available and easy to watch by anybody. So both in the recorded form and in terms of having written notes. So thank you so much for coming today, and I'm really looking forward to hearing our speakers. Our first speaker today is Brian Whitney, president of Maine Technology Institute. Brian, welcome.
Thanks, Liz. Good to see everybody. Good morning. Happy Thursday. Like Liz, I'm really excited about today's presentations. As you probably all know, MTI has provided some funding awards and assistance to all three of the folks that were on the advanced agenda, Accelera, Prosperity Maine, and E4All. So I'm looking forward to all of those updates. Very exciting stuff. Did want to let you know the last couple of weeks been over to the State House a little bit. There's been some legislation affecting MTI that's been presented, a few different pieces. One of those pieces is asking MTI to review the 7 targeted technology sectors. So as you probably all know, MTI is tasked in our statute to invest in the state's 7 targeted technology sectors. Those sectors were first identified back in the late 90s. So Senator Rick Bennett, who actually was on the Joint Select Committee on Research and Development back in the late 90s and is back in the legislature today, actually proposed this bill. So I'll probably be looking for your assistance. It looks like this bill is going to pass. It's coming out of the committee, unanimous, ought to pass as amended. And what it asks us to do is conduct a public process, reviewing the sectors, seeing if there need to be changes made, and then asking MTI to submit a report to the legislature in January 2024 with any suggestions for changes to those 7 targeted technology sectors. So I'll be looking for all of you to help me get the word out this fall, as we'll figure out how to engage that whole process. And we'll be looking for feedback from all of you, as well as folks within your networks to help inform that whole process. So again, good to see everybody and look forward to today's presentations.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Brian. And thank you for sponsoring this whole network gathering. We really appreciate it. Next update is from Jake Daniele from the Department of Economic and Community Development.
Hi, Liz. It'll be me today.
Hi,
I'm Shay McGee. I'm the Business Development Coordinator in the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development. Got quite a few things to just flag for everyone today. One is that DCD has an RFP opportunity out. This is a program coordinator position. to help facilitate the Northern Border Regional Commission inquiries. So working with municipalities and nonprofits in Maine and the eligible sectors there. So please feel free to share that RFP opportunity with your networks, apply yourselves, whatever is applicable to you. And I also wanted to note that DOL released the Workforce Opportunity for Rural Communities initiative. So that's a grant program at the federal level. And for the first time, it looks like MBRC is in a partnership with this work initiative, and they're going to be in a position to provide some technical assistance on grant applications. More details forthcoming. I'm going to pop those links in the chat. The next thing I wanted to talk about, MOT, Maine Office of Tourism, just launched the Maine Destination Optimization Program. So they're going around the state and virtually offering free workshops. And this is targeted towards small businesses to really understand their online presence in those Google searches that are the main way people are navigating their searches and how they're finding businesses. So super helpful resource for any businesses that you're working with currently. And I'll pop that link in the chat. There we go. Maine Employer Summit, the new date, and there's a new location. So that has been released. The date is May 23rd. That's a Tuesday, and it's going to be at the Augusta Civic Center. There's an option to participate virtually as well as in person. And this is really designed for employers to understand what the resources are right now to help hire and retain employees in Maine. So let me put that one in the chat. There's some good stuff going on today. I usually don't have this much. I was just at USDA's Earth Week event over at Stanley Subaru in Trenton. And they're there to talk about the changes that have happened with the Rural Energy for America program. So applications are now available quarterly, which is great. It used to be annually or biannually, depending on the year. So now up to 4 times a year. So that's great news for businesses, as well as you can request up to a 50% match now, which is also going to make this more feasible for a lot of businesses. So this program is for renewable energy and energy efficiency projects. I put this information into the notes. The program contact is Katrina Shaw for Maine. She's at the USDA office in Bangor. Her contact information is in the notes. And one last thing, LD 2003 Q&A sessions are coming up. So this is the housing legislation from last year. I put those dates and the Zoom link into the chat as well, or into the notes. I'll put it into the chat. And feel free to pop into any of those if you're interested. I think I have to update the link. I'll update it in the notes. So it will be there for everyone to review. But that wraps it up on kind of the new stuff that happened this month. And let me know if you have any questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Shay. I actually forgot to allow questions for Brian, so I'm going to allow questions for both Brian and Shay. Does anybody have any questions about anything Brian or Shay shared? I think that's your hand. Okay, go ahead, Kate.
Brian, I couldn't tell by your tone. Are you concerned about what's being brought forward in the legislature, or are you you think you're going to not get your way? But can you paint any more? Can you give more details?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Kate. So I'm not concerned. I testified neither for nor against. My testimony was basically like, it's been almost 25 years. I mean, it certainly couldn't hurt to take a look. I think the 7 sectors are pretty inclusive. They're not particularly targeted, if we're going to be honest, right? I mean, they include just about everything. I actually asked Chat GPT if it thought that we ought to change the sectors at all, and it came back and it said, yes, you should consider changing them, and you should add artificial intelligence, ironically. And it also said we ought to consider climate change, which I would consider under environmental. Artificial intelligence I would consider under IT. So I think it'll be a good conversation. There are some opportunities there for us to take a fresh look at things. So no, not concerned.
And could you see it in a big could there be an increase in funding designation, or that would not come up during this time?
Yeah, no, another good question. I don't anticipate that happening, Katie. They've already passed the biennial budget, so MTI is funded for the next 2 fiscal years at the same level we're funded at this year, which is great. We're very grateful for the funding that's been consistent over the last 15 plus years. But no, there was no provision in there for extra money. Any other questions about any of that?
Brian, Marty piping up if I can. I do think it's good. I know it's always kind of scary to open up statute, and an example is the bottle deposit, where you don't want to make updates because you worry the whole thing might be rolled back, but it does need updating. In this case, I was pleased to hear you mention climate change or renewable energy. It has felt like for some time that it's a miss that we don't have that as one of the targeted categories. So that feels like good news.
Yeah, thanks, Marty. Yeah, I think you were the last one to open up the statute back when you served. So
yeah, and I got away with it, and we did a little bit of good. So we're going to do some more good here. And I don't know if this group can provide comments or something if you want to point us in a particular direction, but happy to do that.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely engage this group. So thanks.
Great. Any other questions for Brian? Any questions for Shay? Shay, you had a lot of things, so I'm hoping you go into the notes and make sure that I captured them correctly. And just for everybody, our notes during the meeting are live, so anybody can go in and make edits. In fact, I encourage you, especially if you're on the new side, to put your organization next to your name. Matthew is collecting names in the notes, but it's great to have to organizations too. Let's see. Shay, I had a question. So the workforce opportunity for rural communities, what would that actually provide to rural communities?
So I'm not too clear on the details of it. It was actually just announced yesterday, so I have not had a chance to dive in. Okay. I did check around on the eligibility, and it's geared towards municipalities, local government, and as well as the workforce boards that are existing in the state, nonprofits, so that's the information I have on it. I do have, I popped in the MxG notes a link to where you can learn more about it.
Great, thank you. Great. Okay, any other questions for Shay or for the Office of Economic Development generally? Okay, moving right along. Our first startup. Oh, actually, you know what I want to do? Sometimes I do this before we have MTI and DCD, but I want to give people who are new an opportunity to introduce themselves. Just a 30-second intro of your name, who you work with, and kind of what you're working on right now or what you're excited about. And I'm just looking through the list to see people who are, you want to call yourself out if if this is the first time you've been here, or you haven't been here in a while, or you don't know a lot of people here.
Sure. Hi, I'm Danielle Snow. It's my first time here. I grew up in Maine. I lived in California for over 20 years and have recently relocated back to Maine. I run my own company, Interwise, which is a coaching and advising company that really focuses primarily on founders and small businesses, startups who are looking to start, grow, and scale their businesses. In addition, I also, and with another new member who will introduce himself shortly, have a second project starting called 75 Park in Lewiston. It will be a co-working space that is a little more than co-working, where your membership will also include access to free mentorship and coaching, as well as programming around starting and growing your business. We're doing renovations to the property we purchased now and expect to be opening that space in the fall of this year.
Very cool. Thank you so much for joining us, Danielle. And feel free to put like a link next to your name to your project website or company if you wish. Okay. And that's open to everybody, not just her, just welcoming her.
Thank you.
Okay. And you, Derek?
Yes, so I'm the other half that she was talking about. So also obviously came back to Maine after a long hiatus. My family's from the Waterville area. Danielle and I met at the University of Maine. So I'm doing, in addition to the 75 Park, I'm doing a small startup with a friend from back in the Bay Area still, but focused in Maine. We like to call it approachable housing. So our goal is to get people that typically don't qualify for even an FHA loan or a Maine family loan into a home. It's about 3% down, and in 3 years through the program, they should be able to qualify for a traditional loan. We basically act as the bank. We buy the house, they pay rent for a period of time, and then we transfer it at the 3-year point.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Feel free to put a link next to your name onto that, or you can put something in the announcements as well as if you wish. Anybody else?
Hi, this is Hannah Semler. I am the CEO of Farm Drop, and we've been around as a concept since 2011, and I took it over and established it as a social business. We're an L3C in 2018 with my co-founder, Kellen Wellborn. I've been through Top Gun and Cultivator, and I'm currently a participant in the Dirigo Labs Accelerator. I've worked with many of you. I think I've tapped out MTI funding, but we are in the sort of long growth, not quite organic, because we have inorganic interruptions to our growth when I have to take jobs off the farm. But we are expanding. We have 12 hubs in Maine and Western New York. We're opening up one in Harlem. We'd love any support for participation, talent acquisition, fundraising, and we're well on our way to hopefully be an institution supporting food systems in the state of Maine for generations to come.
Great, thank you. And we'd love to have you as a presenter at some point. I actually just released the openings for the next few months, and we'll find that link and get it in the chat by the end of the meeting. Great. Anybody else who's new today? Feeling newish? Something new?
I'll go ahead. Hi, everyone. Sarah Smith. I've been on once before. I work at the cheese shop of Portland currently as a cheesemonger, but I moved here late summer, and my background is in startups and innovation. Lived in North Carolina for 5 years, but from New England originally. So just looking to get plugged in the startup ecosystem here.
Awesome, welcome. Last call? Anybody else? Okay, great. So we'll move on to our startup presenter, Michael Wing of Accelera. Michael, you here? Actually, it looks like Michael's not in the participant list right now. So I will email him, but we can move on to our next presenter in the meantime. Is Crystal Williams, I think, is here.
I've seen Crystal's otter.ai, but I haven't seen Crystal's name.
Yeah, I see Crystal's otter as well.
Same thing with
Okay.
Patrick's.
Got it. So I'll contact Crystal as well to make sure that she's with us. She might have been seeing that she had another 5 minutes to go or so. But I know Claude is here. Claude, are you ready to go?
Yes,
Yeah.
I am.
Great. Welcome, Claude. And so Claude is from Prosperity, Maine. We're very glad to have you with us today, Claude. And I know that there were two topics that you wanted to discuss, both the business programs you have, I mean, the overall of your organization, but also you had some particular interest in housing. And since we've got some extra time today, typically each of our presenters has 5 minutes to present, and then we do a 5-minute Q&A. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to start out with, and we'll go from there. So I'll set an alarm for 9 minutes, so you'll know that you have 1 minute left when you hear the bell. And then we'll go Q&A from there. Does that work for you?
That works perfect. I was wondering how I was going to manage 5 minute, 4 minute.
Right.
But again, that's great. Do I have access to share my?
Yes, you do.
Okay. All right. Okay. So thank you so much, Liz, for inviting Prosperity Maine to share what we do. And I know that, can you guys see my screen? Okay. I know that most of the presenters come here, they are businesses. We are a nonprofit, but we do support small businesses, and that's how we're actually getting funding from MTI, and we're very excited about our new project. So Prosperity Maine is a nonprofit that has been around for 15 years, and we have I'll go to our mission statement is to empower, Prosperity Maine empowers through education and counseling members of refugee and immigrants communities to invest in themselves to build financial stability, career, businesses, and the wealth. And again, you can see our vision. I don't want to read all this. You can see them when I share the slides for folks who are interested. But again, our purpose is to empower immigrants to succeed economically in a community. It's great to see many faces in this group that I'm familiar with. We have a core value, respect. The people that we serve have experience, skills, and that need our assistance. We have to work in a community. We need to listen to people, we need to collaborate, and we need equal opportunity for everybody. So those are some of the core value of our organization. Now, moving into the programs, we, as I said, we have been around for 15 years. And the original organization, which used to be called the Community Financial Literacy, was actually focusing its work on financial education and coaching. And again, that grew, meaning we provide basic financial education, saving to build wealth, career development. So all that we do in terms of helping our new Mainers who come to this country, who are new to the state, who are new to some of the services, to guide them on how they can succeed. We later introduce our scholarship, which I will talk just a few minutes. A scholarship is a program that we started about 5 years ago to support our new men who are not eligible, asylum seekers specifically, who are not eligible for any FAFSA or any other financial aid because they are asylum seeker, they don't have legal permanent position yet or status. And these individuals, once they graduate from our program, they can actually become a workforce that we need. Some of these individuals can still go to a 4-year college, community college, or 4-year universities, but we mostly support them at the 2-year level. when they're SMCC or Central Community College and so on. And then we have a workforce development and small business, which will be some of the things that we're going to focus on mostly today. But I also want to mention about housing services. And again, since I'm on this topic, I know that all of you are aware of the housing crisis, whether you're trying to attract talents from out of state, or these are new men who are coming to choose Maine as their home state. It's very difficult for them now to find houses. So we have been housing people at the hotel. Unfortunately, the deadline is for the funding ends this month. And then June 30th is the deadline, even though you may still be eligible for funding through general assistance. Some of the municipalities are really putting a stop to using hotels as a shelter. So that is a crisis that we are in that you may see happening starting May 1st or July 1. There are discussions about creating some shelter here and there, but again, it remains our biggest challenge right now. So let's go to small businesses. Why do we start small businesses? So we know at Prosperity Maine that a small business have always been vital economic resource that allowed immigrants to flourish, build, and thrive in their communities. That is a fact. And I know many of the startups that have come here to present, that's what they're looking for, whether you're an immigrant or not. But I also want to say that immigrants tend to start more small businesses at the high rate than actually other residents. So that's why we think that we need to help them get where they need to be. Prosperity Maine goals to support entrepreneurs become so successful. Support immigrants create their own jobs and other family members. 83% of businesses owner. So again, let me go back a little bit. I'm trying to see if I can put all this in time. In 2021, Prosperity Maine, with our partner CEI actually, we did a small business project in the Lewiston area. We wanted to see how much was the small businesses impacted by COVID. And we realized that it was huge, which I'm going to talk in the next slides. But again, some of those, it was not a big sample, but we had about 40 small businesses, but we were able to interview around 25. 83% of those businesses owner interviewed want to grow their customer beyond their base. That is a challenge they have, and they need to figure out. Half of the businesses owner started their own businesses at the sole source of income. Half of the businesses were affected by COVID, and they had a drop in customer. 60% of those businesses owner employ their family members, and language was seen as another challenge. So what are the type of business we support? Again, we don't have the whole department of small businesses as many others have may seen. However, people with the language barrier, people with no business plan, people with the culture differences, culture issue, always come to us. Of course, we do send some of these folks after we do the initial contact with them, after we do the incorporation with them, after creating some licenses, we send them to either CEI or SCORE to do the work that we cannot do. So we have seen people coming our way who are willing to open a grocery store or convenience store. We have seen people coming that needs to do oral repair or maintenance, translation and interpreter businesses, group home, cleaning businesses, sewing small businesses, IT support services, and the farmers. So all these people, when they come to us, they really start up. They don't have any idea. They may have just an idea to do one of these small businesses that I'm mentioning here, but they have a language barrier. They have a credit issue. They have no way to know where to go and what to register where to go for licensing, even incorporation. So that's what we do mostly at the low level. And then we can send them to some other organization that can support them. What have we identified are the challenges for those small businesses? One is the funding. So the funding is one of the biggest issue that we see, lack of access to capital. They see that, again, as I said, we send some folks to CEI and to get some support, but it's still, if they don't have good credit, if they lack some capital, it can be a challenging for them. They don't have a credit history. The level of understanding or accessing funding is very limited to that piece alone. The other piece that we see is the infrastructure, and also this were actually identified in the research that we did. Lack of IT, lack of bookkeeping, it's another issue. They need mentors to help them understand where they need to go and how they can do things to be successful. No, some of them don't even have a website. They don't have marketing materials. That's part of the infrastructure. The other piece is capacity themselves. So on the capacity end, this is mostly family-owned businesses, but they lack some growing skills to be able to develop these businesses going forward and grow them or do outreach. I remember actually helping some businesses incorporating a business, then they come back to me and say, where can I get clients? Where can I get customer? So I said, have you developed a brochure, marketing materials, so you can go and do outreach to the community? Some of them, again, because of language barrier, because of some difficulties, they end up not actually being successful in that area. So as I mentioned, some of these small businesses had the challenging into after or during the COVID. So what do we find into these findings? Well, they didn't have access to PPP loan. As many of you who are business owner know that those folks who are access PPP loans, they end up actually getting those loans forgiven because, again, it became a grants. So they didn't have that. Why they didn't have access to PPP loans? Because they lacked some of the infrastructure that I mentioned. Bookkeeping, not filing taxes, and no business plan. So that actually hindered them to develop. And guess what? Some of these businesses, as I said on one of the slides here, 90% of this business income is what support the families. So if they're not developing these businesses and they create these businesses as a way to build an income for their families, they'll be stuck. So those are the challenges. So 90% of this is the source of the income. But if a business doesn't go forward, it becomes a challenge. So in terms of where we go next from here, and again, we have another exciting project that we'll be working on in partnership with CEI, of course, as we have been working with them for a very long time. It's called IDA. The IDA stands for Individual Development Account. And this project helps people who either start up or education to match the funds that you bring your funds, we match with the funds to start your business or grow your business, or pay use the funds to pay for your education in order, again, to gain workforce development. So that's a new project we're going to be going, but it's not new to us. As I said, we had actually IDA previously with the CEI for almost 10 years. We are very excited and pleased that MTI was able to award us a grant so that we can do this program again. It's a program that has been very successful with startup, with homeownership, and even education. So that is what Prosperity Maine does. But again, I'm not sure if I use my time wisely, but I'll be more than happy to answer any question. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Claude. So we've got a wide range of topics there. Who has a question for Claude on any of those topics?
I have a question regarding reach. Claude, I saw that you that Prosperity Me is based out of Portland, and I'm just wondering what other communities your team works in.
That's a very good question. Yes, we are based in Poland, but we have been in Lewiston almost for 7 years. We have actually a satellite office in Lewiston where we have some of the staff work from Lewiston office and other group work here. But again, part of the work that we have been doing for the last 15 years will be extending our programs not only to Lewiston and the Skagen Bank and Cumberland, but also in Augusta. We have a project called Women Economic Empowerment for Immigrants, which is supporting some small businesses and also workforce development, which will be launching in Augusta starting this fall. And we also work in York County, which is also next to our Cumberland County. So capacity may be an issue a little bit here for us to be statewide, but that's where we're heading in terms of outreach.
Great, thank you. Claude, one question I had is I was sort of curious about the sweet spot that you see for Prosperity Maine in terms of helping immigrant businesses, because I know there's like the CEI Start Smart program, and there's I think there's at least one other. So I'm sort of curious, like, how do you see as your sweet spot related to the other programs that specifically are supposed to help immigrants?
That's a very good question. And again, as I said, we don't even have a whole department to helping small businesses, but we're hoping to hire someone when we start the IDA program again. But we are forced to see many people who are early startup at the beginning and who have a language barrier, who probably wouldn't be even feel comfortable going to present the idea to SCORE, to CEI, to others. So they start from us. And again, some of these things that I mentioned, we have actually started those small businesses, get them on a track, and then send them to other partners. Again, we believe in a partnership and a collaboration where they can actually receive some either funding or even take from there. But again, our sweet spot is a startup for those who have a language barrier, culture differences, and those who really have an idea, but they can't easily go to some of these organizations and say, here's my idea. So we actually start from scratch, from zero. But some other partner would like to have, when you come to them, you have an idea, you have already launching, incorporated somehow so that they know how they can support you. So we are here from a stage zero, basically, and handle some other folks into other areas. And I'm sure Jen, who has been working with us, will agree that some of the businesses we have started, we actually hand them to pick it up, and it has been successful.
Awesome, thank you. Joe has a question.
Hi, Claude. It's Joe
Hello.
at MTI. Good to see you. And all I can say is, wow, you make me feel better about the diversity of people I see here, and from inventors in a garage to publicly traded people, but companies. But we typically focus on tech, yes. Right? So I was curious. I heard you say MTI gave you a grant. Who's your grant manager internally at MTI, and are there ways when you see technology companies or tech ones that we can help get involved a little sooner? It's great that you send them to SBDC, CEI, get SCORE, because MTI supports those too. But in terms of the tech ones, how are we interacting with you, and is there anything we could do differently?
That's a very good question. I actually recently received a request as we had a meeting with some folks from MTI to discuss the grants, the IT grants that you guys have. Because I'm super busy here, I don't want to say that because it's part of our job. I haven't really been able to direct some of these individuals to you guys. But again, when we had a meeting, they gave us a guideline of what they are looking for specifically into IT, small businesses, and I have identified some, and I'll be sending them your way. So I just want to figure out whether they fit, because we define what fits into what MTI is trying to do and what doesn't. Some of these people we support may not necessarily fit into the model that you have, but they are, again, it's a very sophisticated issue, because IT is not a sweet spot for many startups. But I'm happy to see that some of them are actually, I saw an ad yesterday, email from this same small business I'm talking about, which said, if you need some website design, if you need some IT support, if you need some of these things, you may reach out to us. So they creating a nice startup businesses to support some of these small businesses, which may be really a great opportunity. So we'll be sending some your way once we have some free time to connect with MTI and these small businesses. I'm not sure if I answered your question, Joe.
Yeah, just that. I think you did that. You're working with some people. I see Brian now let me know that it was the grant you got was a federal ARPA
Yes.
that went through Maine. Okay.
Yes.
Super. Okay.
Thank
Again,
you.
let us know. Brian's here. One of the challenges we have is just that, which is something like 50% of the people that get to us are not a fit to MTI, and that can be discouraging. So anything we can do up front to help with that, please let Brian, myself, or whoever you're working with know. Who are you working with at MTI, Brian?
He's working with the Jobs and Recovery Plan team. So the Prime Ecosystem was the award that Prosperity Maine got. So Lou's the primary point of contact.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I'll connect.
Thank you, Brian, for bailing me out.
No trouble.
I was
Claude.
blinking, he had the name.
John Trumper.
I just want to put in a comment that Prosperity Maine does extraordinarily important and impactful work, and working with Claude is a great experience. And I encourage anyone who doesn't know Prosperity Maine to learn more.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
And Nick. Oh, you're muted.
Hi, Claude. Thanks for the presentation. Something we've been interested in for a few years at Sea Meadow Marine Foundation, where we host over a dozen sea farmers at our boatyard in Yarmouth, is if there's opportunities for apprenticeships for new Mainers with, say, oyster farmers and kelp farmers, where it's a nice match where they need workers, and it also could lead to the new Mainers having their own aquaculture businesses fairly quickly when they're allowed to, to do that. So I sent you guys a note. We can talk about it offline, but it could be a really interesting collaboration.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Nick. I've known Nick for a few years, and the organization is very supportive of Prosperity Maine. So we thank you. Definitely, as you, maybe I'm not sure if I mentioned it, maybe I did, mentorship and connection, learning from the experience of those who have it is really something that can help our small businesses to succeed. And again, we'll be looking forward to a network and also partnership between your organization and our organization and those that we support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm going to ask one more question because Claude, you talked about this housing crisis, and I just didn't want to completely drop that. Can you tell us what people what is sort of the best hope of what will happen regarding like this funding running out and housing issues and or like what is the best hope and what are people on this call if they want to take an action? Like is there anything that they can do to help with the housing issue?
That's a very good question. So about a year ago, Prosperity Maine was awarded a grant to work with Maine Housing to support what we call emergency rental assistance program with not only people who are housed, but also new men who are coming here in our state. As you know, we have been receiving a lot of immigrants, asylum seekers for many years. By the way, I'm a product of those asylum seekers myself. But because of COVID, we were not able to place people as they come into different homes. And again, that created a little bit backlog into housing crisis. So the only option we had during COVID was to put people into hotels. Now, we have been supporting those people in a hotel, but that funding, and again, this is not only for Prosperity Maine, it's all the top agencies across the state. Primarily support was for these immigrants, either in the Poland area or Cumberland, York County, Greater Poland, and so on. So the support that we were providing to the asylum seeker at the hotel is coming to an end at the end of this month. So the question is, where do those people go? There is not enough shelter to actually put these people into it. The legislation has passed an LD3 to support these individuals who are unhoused and try to figure out a solution. So there is currently a discussion to build a shelter in the Poland area, but it's not enough to accommodate all the individuals. To be more exact, Prosperity Maine is supporting about 83 families, which is about 280 individuals who will be losing housing by June 30th, because the municipality in South Poland have made it clear that they don't want to extend this hotel into as a shelter. So we need definitely to find a place. We need any warehouse which can be available and open to be used as a shelter. We have been looking at different options. We don't have them. But at the same time, keep in mind that these individuals are the workforce of our state that we need. So what they need is just about where can they be a short period of time as we continue to explore some housing options. So we have made a lot of progress in finding some homes here and there. And we're not only bound to keep them here only in a Greater Poland area, we could send them in Androscoggin County or even in Augusta area, anywhere. If you find any place that can be turned into a shelter that we can use, maybe we can lobby the state to try to find it so that we can move these people, similar to the expo that Poland is doing here. South Poland is also going to build maybe another shelter, but we really need all your help, if you can, to be able to find a place where we can house these individuals. This is a humanity crisis. So if we can all, as a stakeholder, come together to figure out, as we did in 2019, to have some host families that can host individuals in their homes, that would be really fantastic. We don't want to see 800 people on the street comes July 1.
One question that I have is, have you explored any of the uses of campuses, college campuses in summer months?
So again, yeah, this question has come so many times to us. Why not try USM? Why not try? Yes, we can. But again, that is, you move people from where they are to another temporary place, then you move again after September. Similar to the Expo will be closing 300 beds by July. Where do these people go? So that's a similar thing. If we had another open shelter, which can be a little bit longer, that might be much easier as we navigate the permanent housing than putting them into a temporary here and then, because if we would take this individual by the end of June and we put them at USM, it's gonna take only 2 months, then they're out. Where do we put them? So we're trying to figure out if there is a way to create a shelter which can be longer than just 2 months as we continue to explore affordable housing solutions with so many developers who are working on this piece. But thank you for the suggestion.
Claude, I'm going to invite you to put into the chat any way that people can contribute any ideas they have out of this, maybe your contact information or something like that. This is really important, and I'm glad to hear that this group cares about this.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Liz. One thing that I want just to clarify, people have seen Expo and they think that Expo is now the only looming piece. So our Expo has only 300 individuals. However, many families that are supported by TOA, families supported by Prosperity Maine, Prebo Street, and others, they're actually in those hotels and outside in people's couches. So the shiny piece of Expo may have taken people's idea to say, oh my gosh, we got to rush to go help people at the Expo. It's not an Expo. We have Salvation Army and the YMCA. So they are all over the place. If there is a way that people can help, please feel free to reach out to Prosperity Maine. You can reach out to Maine Immigrant Rights Coalition. So we're going to put our information in a system. And thank you for your support. And thank you for listening to us.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we have one more speaker today. Nick Planson, who a few months ago spoke about his Shred Electronics, has actually another company called the Boatyard, and he's offered to sit in today, and it's an exciting startup that he has going. So Nick, I'm going to turn it over to you and give you, I'll give you a 4-minute timer so that you have, you have 1 minute to wrap up when you hear that. Are you ready to go? Awesome.
Yes, hi, I volunteered to fill in. So I don't have a slide deck, but I can share our newly updated website. I did present a few months ago about our startup Shred Electric, which is focused on electric off-road vehicles. And today I'll present really briefly about our business, the Boatyard LLC, which is based in Yarmouth. Liz asked a very good question about if we're scalable, and I would say that we are increasingly scalable because we're focused on electric and clean propulsion for work hulls designed and built, workboat hulls designed and built in Maine for aquaculture, but also for a lot of other purposes. We received some super helpful funding from MTI a couple years ago to actually buy this electric outboard motor, which you see is on a oyster farm off of Madeline Point in Yarmouth. We've applied for additional funding for a larger motor to keep testing and developing the opportunities for electrification of workboats in Maine and beyond. Here you can see, I don't know if it works on Zoom, but you guys could pull it up later on our website, which is theboatyard.me. But this is us testing a battery powered oyster sorting machine last summer up in Damerscotta. We're very happy to announce that building on that program, we received a grant from the USDA SARE program to develop battery and renewable solutions for aquaculture farms. So a lot of these farms will have 1, 2, or 3 gas-powered generators at sea on their farms to power oyster tumblers or haulers or water pumps or pressure washers. And the technology is available today to do that with batteries and solar panels and micro wind turbines. So we have a 2-year program now to work with farmers, compensate them for their time to develop this technology and make it a solution that all of the aquaculture industry in Maine and Canada and internationally, or Alaska, West Coast, can transition. And that's kind of helping the aquaculture industry go to a totally zero carbon operation. Oysters do a great job of cleaning the water. So let's make sure that the tools used to farm them are not polluting. You can do electric boats now. You can do electric processing equipment, like I just mentioned. We have an electric truck that we're testing to do transportation of the oysters to the local restaurants or markets where they're being sold. Besides that, we are working with different manufacturers on cleaner boat propulsion technology. So I mentioned this is a 20 horsepower Torqeedo motor. We're partners with them. This is actually new technology called, it's a diesel outboard motor. And we're working with Maine Standard Biofuels to power that with biodiesel, at least partially with biodiesel. And then in some cases, you still need a gas motor if you have to go out far to your farm. So we're able to provide that. And then you might also pair that with an electric motor to do the work on the farm. So some of the less scalable part of our business that we are winding down or transitioning to others are marine construction, dock building, pier building, and marine transportation. We have barges, tugboat, and refrigerated truck, which we use as needed, but we're increasingly heading in the direction of the electrification. So I don't know where the timer is, but hopefully that was a helpful introduction to the Boatyard.
Awesome, thank you. Questions for Nick? Nick, I'd love to hear how far you are in your business. Like what stage are you at, and do you have customers yet? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, we work with probably over a dozen sea farmers up and down the coast of Maine, whether they're raising kelp and they need help harvesting or transporting their harvest, or the oyster farmers that work from our facility in Yarmouth in a lot of different capacities. A lot of farmers are transitioning from other industries and they're new to boating or they're new to farming. And so there's a lot of assistance we provide in that space. They're all very interested in having their operations be as clean as possible. So that's why the electric alternatives are very attractive to them, even though they are quite expensive. So finding ways to bring down those costs is something we're very focused on. We're trying to develop a leasing model on the battery side. We explored some like shared usage of an electric workboat, but that didn't really work because farmers really need a dedicated boat so they can go out when they need to go out. Like I showed before, we have our electric motor in operation on various sea farms. So we get really good feedback on what works with it, what doesn't work with it. Some applications, it makes great sense. Like Eros Oyster, some of you may be familiar with, their farm is so close to shore and they have a dock with power on it. It's just a no-brainer for them to move to an electric boat. Others who have a farm farther offshore, electric might not make a total sense. You may need gas to get out there and then use the electric motor once you're out there. I'm not sure if I answered your question, but the electrification equipment is available now, and we're developing kind of what makes sense, how it makes sense. And part of our grant requires us to publish and share how people can implement this themselves, whether hiring us or buying our equipment or doing it themselves if they're kind of in the DIY space.
Got it. Hi, Nick, it's Susan. I'm going to follow up on Liz's question because I'm thinking along the same lines. For those who are not innovation early acceptors, what is the best point of entry for a organization or individual who wishes to work with you, but doesn't wish to be in beta, is looking for, I want to really know that I can count on what it is that I am doing, working with, whatever. I just want to know what that point of entry is, or which product is what you would consider the most beyond beta. Thanks.
Sure, thanks. That's a great question. Nice to see you, Susan. I'd say the electric motor space is outside of beta. That Torqeedo company, they've been doing it for almost 20 years. And our approach with any customer, be it, working application or recreational, is we don't want to just sell you a motor and say, okay, good luck, have fun. More it's, let's see, how are you going to charge it? How often are you going to use it? How far do you have to go to make sure that it really makes sense? But that technology, we're dealers for Torqeedo. That's ready to go. And we'll work with folks to make sure that they buy the right size battery for what they need. On the aquaculture processing equipment side, I'd say some of it is ready to go off the shelf, but the point of the grants that we've gotten is to, we're going to deploy systems out there with real-time monitoring of how much power or energy is in that battery. And we can check it with your cell phone so that the farmer can go out there and know that they have enough power to run the tumbler or the sorter or whatever. So I'd say for some folks, the more DIY people, it's ready already. But I'd say for next growing season, so next spring, by then we should have stuff that pretty much anyone can rely on.
And Nick, pardon me if you mentioned this before, but are you actually building any some of these products, or is it mostly being a dealer?
On the electric motor side, we're currently dealers. Our other business, Shred Electric, is developing our own motors so that it can use our battery that then you swap to other vehicles like a snowmobile or a portable power pack. That stuff is totally in alpha prototype stage right now. But then on the aquaculture processing equipment, it's going to be a combination of our own technology with off-the-shelf, say, DC motors. We don't need to become a motor company. There's lots of people who have been doing that for decades. Instead, where there's existing technology, that's great, we'll use it. But then in some cases, there isn't the technology available, especially for the marine environment. And so that's what we're developing and testing.
Great. Any other questions for Nick? Great. Thank you, Nick. We're so glad you're out there pioneering this stuff. It's awesome.
Thank you. It's fun.
Be willing to jump in. Since we have a few minutes left over, I just want to create an opportunity for anybody who has a quick announcement, just something you're working on or excited about, like 30-second or less of something you want to introduce or share an update on, something you're excited about this week. I see some hands. Jeff.
Hi, I just wanted to make everybody aware, and some of you may already be, about a Rue Institute Start Summit taking place on the 28th and 29th. The Island Institute is a co-sponsor along with the Penn Bay Chamber of Commerce and Main Street Rockland. This will, Friday the 28th, we'll have a kickoff event and a panel hosted by Hannah Pingree. On the 29th will be an all-day process where teams will be broken out, provided with some challenges around innovation for coastal economies. And by the end of the day, judges will assess the ideas that teams come up with. First place will be awarded $3,000, second place $2,000. And it's catered throughout, if that's enticing.
Awesome. Thank you. Tina.
Great. Thank you. Thrilled to be here. I love hearing all the great things that are happening in Maine. This is my second meeting, so I love what you all are doing. Quick announcement. We are coming to Maine. We're Rural Rise. I'm with Rural Rise, and we are a national organization focusing on rural entrepreneurship, rural broadband, everything rural. So we're excited to be coming to Maine. We're going to be in Waterville and Skowhegan, Maine from June the 20th to the 22nd. And we just opened up registration. I can put the link in there. We do have scholarships available. We're going to have lots of great presentations from Maine nonprofits such as yourselves and all across the nation. And one of our goals is to share resources and programming that we can learn from each other. So thank you for having me, and hope to see you all at the conference.
Great. Thank you. Any other announcements?
It's Susan. May I ask a question of Tina?
Of course.
Great, thanks. Hi, Tina.
Hi.
Are you at this point looking for program content? I'm just wondering, other than having people be aware and register from this particular group, are there any particular themes or issues that you're looking for expertise in, or how is the programming coming along? Thanks.
Sure. Great, Susan. We are still looking for quick pitches. So one of the things that we do is we do 5-minute quick pitches, very similar to what you all do. And that helps share programming. So we do have space in there for quick pitches. We're also we have some panels. It's really geared around different discussions, whether it's women in entrepreneurship, broadband, outdoor rec, different topics, and we want people to discuss. So we're going to have some presenters and then an open discussion. So we do have room for quick pitches and maybe some room on some panels as well.
And how does one find out more if one wanted to recommend that somebody do a quick pitch or whatever? Follow up with you directly, or?
I will put my information in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Any other quick announcements or questions for the group? Great. Well, seeing none, we're going to close for today. I will open networking groups, and my goal is to make it so that you can move around to where you want to be to want to talk to. But thank you so much for coming today. And we'll be sending you out requests for future presentations. And I hope you all have a great day.
Thanks, Liz.